Agenda will be the April 23rd minutes. Any changes?
None.
Stand as written. Any citizen comments email in? Nobody wants to talk to. For consent agenda, new business, resolution setting a public hearing for establishment of a Tallgrass Second Edition Rural Housing Incentive District. So I will open the public hearing.
This would not be a public.
This isn't the.
Not this one.
Oh, this is the wrong one. I'm sorry.
We're going to set this one.
I'm sorry. We're setting this one.
Right.
We're going to set this one, guys. Sorry.
Good evening, Commissioners. Kim Rupp, Director of Finance. We are in receipt of an application for a rural housing incentive district from the Heart of America Development Corporation. Their project involves the development of street and additional infrastructure to serve approximately 75 residential lots located northeast of the intersection of 22nd Street and Wheatland Avenue. The developer is requesting RHID financing on a pay-as-you-go basis for 25 years. This map shows the site of the proposed housing development. This is the proposed development, and CK's to the west here. Should be at Wheatland and 22nd. Total cost of the project is estimated to be $3,210,600, with all of that eligible for the RHID reimbursement. Term of the RHID is 25 years, with the incremental property tax over the 25 years estimated to be $3,227,355. The Commission previously adopted a resolution making certain housing needs, findings, and determinations. Following adoption and publication, the resolution was sent to the Kansas Secretary of Commerce for approval to move forward with the creation process. Kansas Secretary of Commerce approved that through a letter dated April 3rd. And the next step in that process is to set a public hearing to hear public comment on the consideration of the establishment of the RHID. If the Commission approves that resolution, the public hearing would be set for June 25th. Following that, on June 25th, the Commission would consider an ordinance establishing the RHID and adopting the development plan. If that's established and the development plan adopted, the city and the developer would enter into a development agreement to govern the rights and responsibilities of the parties, and the ordinance would become effective following the 30-day veto period. So your options would be to approve the resolution, decline, or provide us with other direction. And our recommendation and action requested this evening is to approve.
I make a motion that we approve resolution number 2020-011, setting a public hearing for the establishment of the Tallgrass Second Edition Rural Housing Incentive District and adoption of a development plan.
Seconded. We got a motion and a second. Any comments?
The veto period, is that during this, during the hearing or after the hearing, or?
John, correct me if I'm wrong, but the veto period would be after the ordinance is passed and published. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, that's correct.
And the veto's for county and school district?
Right.
That's right.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda, North Vine Street Corridor Project. Ordinance designating certain streets within the city of Hays, Kansas as main traffic ways.
Once again, Kim Rupp, Director of Finance. Bids for the construction of the North Vine Street Corridor were opened by the Kansas Department of Transportation on March 25th. Low bid was Smoky Hill of Salina, and the city has previously already authorized KDOT to move forward with awarding that bid to Smoky Hill. The city's share of the project costs will be primarily financed with general obligation bonds to be issued in the future, the debt service coming from transit gas tax. This ordinance designates certain city streets as main traffic ways. It's the first step in authorizing this project for GO bond financing under Kansas law. The main Traffic Way Act is KSA 12-685. It allows for financing certain main traffic way improvements with general obligation bonds using a two-step process. The first step involves designating streets as main traffic ways, and that is final and conclusive under the Act by the governing body. The city has previously designated streets in the past. Those are found in 62-90 of the city code. Those streets included Vine, Roth, General Hayes, 48th, 55th, Mopar, 22nd, 41st, and 45th from Smoky Hill to Hall. The second step of the process set forth in the act involves adopting a resolution authorizing the GO bond financing for the project, and we'll consider that with you at the next meeting. The ordinance makes the designation for streets included in this project and not previously designated as main traffic ways. The project includes the construction or reconstruction of West Frontage Road, connection of West 37th Street to Skyline, connection of Skyline Drive to 41st, and installation of a shared use path along the west side of Vine and upgrading pedestrian crossings. A little closer look of the frontage road on the west side of Vine, and then the connections with 37th and Skyline. So options would be to approve the ordinance, decline to approve, or provide us with other direction, and our action requested is approve the ordinance.
I may move we approve ordinance number 3982, designating certain streets within the city of Hays, Kansas as main traffic ways for the purpose of general obligation bond financing.
I'll second.
A motion second on the floor. Any questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0. Now I will open a public hearing to consider the adoption of D&J Land and Development Mixed-Use Project Redevelopment District Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Plan.
Kim Rupp, Director of Finance. This item is the finish line for the D&J Land Marathon we've been on. After you take comments during this public hearing, we'll ask for the approval of the ordinance. It is multifaceted. It approves the TIF project plan, provides for conveyance of approximately 4.6 acre property from the city to the developer. It approves the development agreement the city staff and the developer has been negotiating over the last several weeks. So you've seen several items regarding this process. This is the timeline we presented before. We've completed annexation as well as the TIF public hearing and ordinance. You approved a resolution setting a public hearing on the project plan and CID per statute. And in addition, we've presented the TIF project plan to the City of Hays Planning Commission. They unanimously agreed that the project plan is consistent with the intent of the comprehensive plan for the City of Hays. And finally, tonight's review of the project plan, property conveyance, and development agreement with the public hearing and ordinance. The project plan provides that the project encompasses approximately 45 acres, generally located at the northwest corner of 230th and Interstate 70. The developer seeks reimbursement of certain TIF eligible project costs, the project from TIF revenues, among other incentives. A portion of the project consists of land acquisition, the construction of the travel plaza and truck wash, site grading, the balance of the redevelopment district, and related infrastructure improvements, including extension of water, sewer, street, utilities, and pedestrian improvements to serve the project. Related infrastructure improvements include contiguous water and sewer lines connecting to existing city service south of the project, and the balance of the project consists of development of approximately 9 outparcel pad sites in the redevelopment district for restaurant, retail, hotel, and other commercial uses. The developer anticipates selling or leasing those lots pad ready to other end users. Developer improvements are expected to begin very soon in 2020 and take approximately 18 months to complete. The other private improvements are tentatively planned to be completed and commence in 2022, but that is all depend on timing of purchase and construction by end users. According to the city's economic development policy, the district will capture the incremental taxes only, not the sales tax. All taxing authorities will receive the retailer sales tax generated by the property. The TIF is 20-year term according to statute and is a pay-as-you-go basis, which means the developer fronts the financing and we would not issue any bonds. A review of the numbers. Total construction cost of the Travel Plaza truck wash is $22.4 million. Upon sale of all development lots and completion of Phase 1, the developer estimates that the appraised value of Phase 1 and all improvements will be $50.7 million. Developer also estimates that Phase 1, upon completion, would create $38.7 million of annual retail sales and $3 million of monthly gas and diesel sales. Over the 20-year life of the TIF, it's expected it would generate $14.9 million in ad valorem property tax revenue, and the reimbursement of the TIF eligible cost would be $12.4. That excludes the $1.5 million KDOT grant. The feasibility study was prepared using financial projections formulated by the developer. The study shows that if the project develops as expected, the estimated TIF revenues combined with the CID sales tax, KDOT grant, developer's equity will be sufficient to pay the cost of the reimbursable expenditures in the project. Feasibility study also called out some benefits to the local economy. That included creation of 263 jobs, an increase in hotel room capacity, a needed regional travel plaza and truck wash, and an increase in sales tax revenue. And the Wichita State University Center for Economic Development calculated the benefit to cost ratio at 1.66 for the city of Hayes as it pertains to the full build out of the project. The conveyance of land portion of the TIF project plan allows for a transfer of city property to the developer. That portion is highlighted in red on this map. The development agreement does provide that within 5 years, if within 5 years the developer has not obtained a building permit for the travel plaza and at least 4 other lots in the project, the city will withhold at a pro rata rate portion of the TIF revenues up to $345,825. That is all I have at this point. Assistant City Manager Colin Belzer will go over the development agreement with you.
Good evening, Colin Belzer, Assistant City Manager. So the development agreement establishes the expectations and responsibilities of each party. Staff has been working with Kevin Wimpy with Gilmore and Bell, who's been in contact with the developers' attorneys to draft this agreement. And I kind of think of this agreement in 5 elements: the general provisions, the tax increment financing, community improvement district, KDOT agreement, and conveyance of property. So the agreement will expire at the conclusion of both the CID and TIF terms unless it's terminated sooner. An amendment to this agreement can only occur by mutual consent between the parties, which would be by resolution, so it would come back for this body. Construction must begin within 6 months. There is some work stoppage language in the agreement, so it must be pursued diligently. Improvements must comply with the project budget, which is located in Exhibit F of the agreement. And then once the improvements have been made, a certificate of full completion will be submitted to the city, and we have 30 days to accept the improvements for the public infrastructure. And once those are approved, the developer will provide for a 1-year warranty. And that's just the public infrastructure. If a default does occur, the agreement can terminate, legal action can be pursued, and then the city has the option to discontinue reimbursements. As has been stated, the developer will advance all eligible costs. No bonds will be issued by the city, and the developer will be reimbursed on a pay-as-you-go method. It was also asked early in this process, but the developer, tenants, or landowners within the district cannot operate any sexually oriented business. For the tax increment financing, as Finance Director Rupp has indicated, it will last 20 years. The cap of the TIF is roughly $13.9 million plus interest. The interest cannot be greater. It can only equal or less the developer's actual cost of borrowing. No sales tax will be captured, and only eligible expenditures can be reimbursed. When the developer is ready to have an expenditure reimbursed, they'll submit a certificate to the city, which is found Form D or Exhibit D in your agreement. It will also include itemized invoices and receipts to certify the costs. Disbursements can occur no more than 2 times annually, and each time a disbursement happens, the city will collect a 0.5% administrative fee. Community Improvement District is section's pretty similar. Obviously, it lasts 22 years. The cap is $2.9 million plus interest. The interest provision about equal to developer's actual cost of borrowing remains. Again, only eligible expenditures will be reimbursed, which they will be required to submit the form and invoices and receipts. We will receive a 0.5% administrative fee with each disbursement, and those can occur no more than quarterly. The most unique aspect of this development agreement is probably the KDOT portion. So the KDOT grant will pay for the intersection improvements of 230th Avenue and 55th Street. The city and KDOT will enter into an agreement which is scheduled for later this month. So what's unique about this is this portion is a city-sponsored project. It will be designed, let, contracted, and inspected separately from the other public improvements. Driggs Design Group is the engineer and will be designing The improvements, the city will finance the project and be reimbursed. No bonds will be issued. So the city will not bear any direct costs for this project. The intersection improvements is anticipated to be a 2021 project. When this goes out to bid and approval is awarded, it'll come before you as a governing body to award the lowest responsible bidder. At that point, before award, the developer will, prior to the city's award bid, the developer will submit to the city a letter of credit or cash deposit for the amounts of the construction work. The engineer estimate of the intersection improvements is $1.76 million. The KDOT grant will reimburse the city monthly up to $1.5 million, and then after that $1.5 million, the developer will reimburse us monthly. If it goes over that $1.76 million, then that can be applied back to the TIF cap. So if it was, the TIF cap's $13.9 million, if that came at 1.86, they would be $14.9 million. And then lastly, the conveyance of property, as I mentioned, before the award of bid to the lowest bidder for the intersection improvements, we will receive a letter of credit or cash deposit by the developer. And then within 5 years, if no building permit for the travel plaza and at least 4 other lots have been issued, the city will receive a pro rata portion of future TIF revenues to cover the land price. I'll turn it back to Kim. As a reminder, the conveyance of property is the triangle shaded in red or bordered by red.
So after you close the public hearing, your options will be to approve the ordinance that includes the project plan, land conveyance, and development agreement. You decline to approve the ordinance or provide us with other direction, and this would be our action requested.
I move we approve ordinance number 398.
We need
Yeah,
to-
Close.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Motion to close, sorry.
I move we close the public hearing.
A second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0.
Now, okay. I move we approve ordinance number 3983, adopting the D&J Land and Development Tax Increment Financing District Project Plan, providing for the conveyance of certain property and approving a development agreement.
Motion and a second. Any comments?
Yeah, Kim, I have a question. On all the projected revenue, this travel plaza, are those projections tied to the development of the Northwest Business Corridor?
Looking through the application and the feasibility study, we haven't seen any evidence of any of that in there. And in fact, when that application came about, that Northwest Corridor really wasn't a reality yet, I don't believe.
Okay, thank you.
Extremely excited to have this finally coming to an end for us and a beginning for the developers. We're excited to have this as part of our community, and thanks for the patience of going through the whole process.
Absolutely. I think I've said this before, how excited I am, and I think we look 10, 20 years down the road, what's going to be out there on that excellence is going to be huge, and we'll be very proud to be a part of this. So, very excited for you guys.
Call for a vote.
Oh,
It's contagious.
yeah. Jeez. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0. Okay, so where are we at now?
Need to open a public hearing for this CID.
Next one, okay. Need to open a public hearing to consider the creation of D&J Land and Development Community Improvement District.
Still Kim Rupp.
Go ahead.
The developer, D&J Land and Development, has submitted a petition to the city to create a community improvement district. So before we get into that petition, we'll quickly review CIDs. They were created in 2009 to help cities promote business activity and economic development. CIDs are designed to be a special assessment and/or a special sales tax on retail sales up to a 2% sales tax no longer than 22 years. CIDs are used to help property owners reimburse themselves for public buildings, infrastructure, parking, landscape, promotion of tourism, and cultural activities. These are not sales taxes that already exist. They're an additional sales tax on the retail sales at the defined property only. And basically, it's something the landowner or developer wishes to impose on themselves to help reimburse themselves for the items mentioned. This map is the property that you've seen numerous times. The red hashed area is the proposed CID, which encompasses the travel plaza and truck wash previously mentioned. So I do want to point out that it's simply the truck wash and travel plaza. The entire area was the TIF that you just voted on, but they carve out this area for the CID. D&J is asking for the imposition of a 2% CID sales tax to help in the construction on the property. The proposed improvements include installation of buildings, landscaping, lighting, infrastructure, utilities, and sidewalks, installation of parking lots, and methods of ingress and egress. Those are all consistent with the development of commercial property authorized, the authorized zoning for the property. Last week there was a question by the mayor about the CID. If that property was sold, what would happen? The CID stays with the property. The revenues still go to the developer. The development agreement does provide for assignment of that. Obviously, there'll probably be monetary exchange between buyer and seller, but normally all those stay with the developer in the beginning. Total estimated project costs for the travel plaza and truck wash are at $6 million, with $4.3 million eligible for CID reimbursement. The developer has projected that the 2% would generate 2.92 over the 22-year period. Again, a pay-as-you-go scenario, same as the TIF. The city will not issue bonds. Everything will be privately funded by the developer up front. So after you hear comments and close the public hearing, your options would be to approve the ordinance, decline to approve, or provide us with other direction. So you can hear comment and then close the public hearing.
Any comments?
I move we close the public hearing.
Seconded.
Motions.
Approve ordinance 398.
Wait a second.
Oh, have to take a
We
vote.
got to vote on the
It's a long
got a
meeting.
motion second to close the public hearing. All in favor of the motion to close the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0. Now,
I move to approve ordinance 3984, establishing the D&J Land and Development Community Improvement District and levying the CID sales tax.
A second.
motion is second. Any added comments? Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rupp. Next item on the agenda, commission inquiries and comments. Mr. Melick.
I have nothing this evening.
Whoa. Commissioner Burgess.
I'll just comment on it. I know in the last however many weeks we've been kind of under quarantine, and it doesn't feel like we've been able to do much, but I'll make a comment. Each Friday afternoon, my wife and I kind of just drive around, get out of the house a little bit, and there's so much that has happened for the city. 10th Street redesign, reconstruction is completed. The alleyway behind Hayes Chevy, I'm not sure if it's completed, but it's in the works. Hall Street's been striped and painted. There's a new crosswalk at 27th over by the Dollar General store. The sidewalks at Sunrise Park have all throughout the whole park have been reconstructed, and there's other projects I know have also been done. And again, on Fridays I kind of drive around, do a little checking up on those projects, and there's a lot that has been done, and the city has accomplished a lot in the last 6 weeks, even though most of us kind of feel like not been able to do a whole lot. So I am proud of the city for what we've been able to do in the last 6 weeks. I'm also proud for how we've handled the stay-at-home orders and keeping the virus at a minimum as far as I think we have. So those are my comments.
Mr. Ruder.
I got to have the opportunity to go to the R9 Ranch in the last week. Is that me or you? Last week I got to go visit down the R9, go visit down in the R9 Ranch, get a tour of that, kind of get a feel for this project that we've been working on since I was, since what, 1992? So
Long time.
a long time. I think I was 1 when this project. I was born. I was 1 when this project started. So it's nice to see that this thing is finally, hopefully coming to fruition fairly soon, and we can get this project that I believe I grew up with. We can finally get it done and get a sustained water source for the city of Hayes. I'm really excited to see that project coming along. And to echo Michael, yeah, it's great to see all these projects finishing up, getting done, and looking great. Everybody's doing a fantastic job, and I appreciate the police officers that we had here this evening to do the proclamation. It was great to see. I appreciate all that they do during this week too. They have a tough job, and I know it's not a glamorous salary for them, but they do really well, and I appreciate them and their families.
Absolutely. Commissioner Jacobs?
I just had a couple things. One, staff keeps us informed of a lot of things going on, and something was very interesting that's brought to my attention in the last couple of weeks, and that is that we have 9 new home permits have been issued since January 1st. Same time last year, we had 3. So along with what Commissioner Burgess says, lots of things are going on. And I, too, wanted to comment about the proclamation the mayor signed tonight for Police Week, but more than that, for the Peace Officer Memorial Day tomorrow. We had a ceremony out front lowering the flag to half-staff in recognition of that day tomorrow. And I, too, want to thank all of our first responders, particularly the police officers tonight. And as Commissioner Reuter said, the families. I wish they could have all been here to experience it as well, because I know that it's as deep and difficult for them as it is for our officers. So thank them all publicly very much.
Yeah, I just kind of touch on what you guys are saying. You know, some of the stuff we approved tonight, I mean, this is a lot of stuff that's moving forward in the city of Hayes. And it may not happen overnight, but it's very exciting to be part of this. We have developers that are, going to invest in Hayes for the future, and very exciting. And as you were saying, guys, how much is going on in the citywide? We're kind of at the stay at home, and you hear people frustrated with it all the time, but on the other hand, people realize it's the right thing to do. And I had some visitors from Norton this weekend, and they were excited to come to Hayes because they feel like Hayes is a safe town to be, from what they're reading and everything. And that's what makes us great is what people see from afar about Hayes, and we will continue to be like that. And it was quite an honor to sign that proclamation for the peace officer and the police officers, as you were saying. I mean, what those guys go through, the first responders go through. I mean, those guys, they go unnoticed, I think, a lot of times, but they're there for us all the time, and very much appreciative. We're adjourned.